So I posted a YouTube video. I'm Redder, the guy that ruins Warcraft. And I was looking through the comments section. I thought that's kind of fun. Somebody here asked me what Linux distribution I'm using. I'm using whatever they told me to use. It's not good. You should pick your own. Why would you ask me that question? This guy says the most advanced AI cannot count the number of words in strawberry. Okay. Let me see. .utp.com. What can I help with? Count the number of words in a word like strawberry. Oh, you have to log in now. Oh, that's very sad. Let's ask Satya Nadella. What does Satya think? Count the number of words in a word like strawberry. There are 6 R's. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay. The most advanced AI currently cannot even count the number of R's in a word like strawberry. It turns out it can. This is because AI doesn't know what a strawberry is. Same as it doesn't know what Warcraft 3 is. Apparently, that's not correct. But, you know what is interesting? Then we have this other YouTube comment. Tried using Warcraft Sandbox's WoW Zone replication for getting the Eastern Kingdoms into War Smash. But I'm too much of a brainlet, so you're my only hope for playing WoW 3, The Frozen Throne on Java. So it's kind of interesting. So, to be totally honest, I like this guy's style. That could be fun. But let's think about this for a moment. Can you actually get the Eastern Kingdoms into War Smash and play it on WoW 3 The Frozen Throne? That's an interesting one, because you're going to need a lot of technology to do that. Let's get started. It's really late at night for me, so you have to forgive. I'm going a little bit more slowly. It might make the video easier to follow, but it also might mean I won't succeed. So let's make a folder called WoW3 underscore The Frozen Throne. And we're gonna put everything in this folder. This sounds fun. I'm gonna try to do a tutorial. Suddenly it is relevant what question this guy asked. What distro are you using? But the trick to Linux distributions is they're not really what you think. Windows teaches people this extremely stupid idea that the only way that you can use a computer system is if someone else does the entire system. And what that means is your system vendor is picking, where the computer button goes, where the network button goes, as part of the distribution that you're given, unless you fight them really hard. Linux is a kernel. It doesn't pick any of that. But some of the, GNU, GNOME universe of technologies sitting on top of that kernel, they like to have interchangeable desktop window managers. If you've ever read about X Windows, you'll know what that is. So if you go and get the distribution that I have, you won't even have the same kind of taskbar, because that distribution doesn't usually come with that taskbar. I went out of my way to change all of that, right? So a better answer to your question that you're not asking is I'm using something called Mate Desktop. I kind of like it. It's old things kind of just work sometimes. Mate Desktop is a continuation of GNOME 2. So GNOME 3 kind of took over. They were trying to make it look like Windows 8 or something. I don't know, combined with Mac. Windows 8 combined with Mac. You'll look at my computer and you'll notice it's not Windows 8 combined with Mac. It's just some random computer that just says War Smash on it. Now, if you'll give me a second, like I said, with going a little slow, I want to make sure I didn't leak any personal information, and whatever the hell was just on the screen right here. Excuse me, I just cursed. I apologize for that. Whatever the heck was on the screen here. Apparently not. Okay. I like to make sure I don't leak any personal information. So, my desktop, it shows this cuboid thing, it says War Smash. It's not going to say that. I mean, you're not going to get Warsmash desktop distribution, right? You'd want to get mate desktop. That's what I'm using. I kind of like how it looks. You can get that on Ubuntu. You can get that on most of the others. I don't know. You know, that's up to you. Okay. So I have a folder. Now I'm pretty sure whatever Linux distribution you use, it'll probably have folders. Okay, great. So we would like to play WoW 3 The Frozen Throne in this folder. And we have to do it without Redera giving us WoW and without Redera giving us The Frozen Throne, because I am not a provider of either of those things. You know, to stay legally in the clear, I wrote some code. It might know how to do this, you know, but it doesn't have any of the R files of that. So let's see if we can put that in this folder. First off, we're going to need my code. We do need that. I'm going to make extensive use of the Linux terminal because I like it. Some people hate it. Okay, that's up to you. If I type the ls command, I just lists files in a folder. It's very convenient for me. It tells me what I'm looking at. This is the same as the output you would get in the home directory over here. It's just a different way of doing the same thing. It's not really meant to be complicated. So you can see I made a folder WoW 3 The Frozen Throne. I've got some other things in here, the parody UFO report about the flying saucers. You know, I keep some good files on my computer and the script for the next idea of the story of Arthas and Jaina trolling around on the beach or something. You know, I have some great files on my computer. So if I go into this WoW 3 The Frozen Throne folder, now the computer's in that folder, right? And if I Control L, it'll clean it out, and I can ls and just only see what's in there. It's empty. That's great. But now that I have this, now that I'm in that folder, we can start to do things. You know, we're gonna do things. We're gonna try to play the game, and then I'm gonna go to sleep because it's actually really late at night. And this is gonna talk me through. I don't even remember if it's possible. I mentioned in my other video, you know, if someone tried to play this, try to get Shelly the Elf on your computer, it would take hours. It's like impossible or something. Let's try to do it. I don't know. This guy wants to go to Eastern Kingdoms. Personally, I wouldn't want to go to Eastern Kingdoms. You know, it's kind of like that song, this land is their land, this land is my land. I would rather draw my own kingdoms. You know, I'm not here to take anybody else's kingdoms. But let's take a look. We'll see. Hypothetically, can we do it? I don't know. I'm going to find out. So, I've got this folder, WoW 3 The Frozen Throne. And that's the name we picked from this guy. That's not my name. That's the name of what he wanted to call his game. He wants to play in Java. Let's see if I can set up how that would go. So, first off, we want to have a guide. We want a guide in this folder, create document, empty file. This is the guide. Now the guide is going to tell us what to do. Okay, now, plan. Okay, so first off, the idea. We want to play as Shelly the Elf in the WoW looking thing. Okay, that sounds fun. We want to try to get Eastern Kingdoms in there. Note, not likely to succeed. Okay, great. So that's the idea. Now the plan of how we're going to get there is going to have a few steps. Okay? So, step one, I think, is get the code. This is not going to be possible without the program code of the emulator called Warsmash that I was using. It's like a Warcraft 3 emulator. There's a hack on top of it that tries to pretend to be World of Warcraft. We need that. Warsmash is on Reddit or GitHub. Okay, great. So that's going to be number one. Number two, we have to get the Warcraft 3. Now, as many of you may know, the official place to get Warcraft 3 is from Battle.net. If you go to Battle.net and you enter your CD key, you could do that. You can download Warcraft 3, and it'll give you a version that is not compatible with Warsmash. That's because in 2022, they changed the format of all 3 models in the entire game of Warcraft 3 without telling anyone. And I don't feel like changing to mimic them. And so, at that point, I decided I didn't even want to bother supporting Reforged format at all, which had also changed in 2020, 2 years prior to that. So, Warsmash only really works with the version of Warcraft 3 that is not reforged, and that is from 2002 to 2019-ish. Now, the other limitation on that is the 2019 version was made by the Reforged team. It actually doesn't work right with Warsmash, unless you work really hard to make it work right. And the 2002 version is so old, I don't support it. So we actually have this window, needs to be from between about, I would say, 2005 probably to 2017. If you can get a version of Warcraft 3 from really anywhere in those 12 years, it's probably going to work. But it will affect your config file, which one you pick. Okay? Then you have to get the World of Warcraft. Now, this is really key to understand this, because this has some options, and what does that even mean? What does that even mean? So, in this video, we have the character Shelly the Elf, and there's also me talking. But prior to me talking, here, wait a minute. There we go. We have the character Shelly the Elf, but Shelly the Elf, this character, is actually running around on not only on a map of World of Warcraft Eastern Kingdom's Plaguelands over here, but actually it's sort of this Eastern Plaguelands map that includes also the Scarlet Enclave stuff from Wrath of the Lich King. So how does that work? How do you get Wrath of the Lich King graphics into a Warcraft 3 emulator that targets this particular version of Warcraft 3? Well, it turns out the way that I did that is a map file some other guy made. And so this, the guy references this in his message here. He says, I tried using Warcraft Sandbox's WoW replication for getting the Eastern Kingdoms. So we can talk about that. We can go to Warcraft 3 modding site, and we can say, what kind of maps do you have? And if you go to templates, he actually has in here, I think the people tagged it as being not finished or something, so it doesn't come up in a search by default. I did edit the settings there to see this. But if you go and you find it here, WoW Scarlet Enclave template. And guys like, look, you can put any WoW landscape in Warcraft 3 with his template or whatever. Now, the way that he does this, it's actually quite interesting. This map that he has constructed, it looks almost like in the World of Warcraft. You'll see in these pictures if this actually loads. Maybe I'm on a little bit slower internet. Oh, the requested image cannot be loaded. Okay, well, let's look at the pictures here. So it's zoomed out a little bit, but he's got these maps. Now, if you actually download this map and look inside of it, it actually tells you what version of World of Warcraft he's using. The version number is included in the map storage, and it was something like WoW 6 or WoW 9. This was he was loading data from some extremely recent version of World of Warcraft. But when he did that, he backported it. So he took the map layer of how these things look in World of Warcraft, and he used a computer program to backport that map layer to Reforged's format. And I think maybe not even Reforged, but maybe even the classic that came before Reforged, which Reforged is compatible with, because then you have a higher degree of compatibility. I don't know. I don't remember. Actually, it might be the Reforged format. Probably Warsmash would load it either way. I don't remember for sure, but I know that Warsmash could load the older Reforged format. So if he was targeting the 2020 format without really thinking about it because he got some code off of some other person, then maybe that would work. Excuse me. So that might be what's happening here. I forget. We can check. But needless to say, what he is using is a technologically ported set of models from an extremely new version of World of Warcraft. Now that's an interesting decision, right? On top of that, there's models, there's the tree, there's the houses, but there is also the terrain on the ground. And when you think about the terrain, that's interesting to think, what is that? So, Warcraft 3 has a very specific terrain system. And when I set up my code to emulate that very specific terrain system, it takes a bit of effort. It's not very straightforward to emulate that one specific thing. But once I got it, it's actually kind of limiting. It's old. It's an old 2002 technology. World of Warcraft is a different system. So you can't actually express the World of Warcraft terrain in a Warcraft 3 map like what you see here. It doesn't really work that way. Because it doesn't work that way, this guy's computer program is creating a giant doodad, the same as this tree right here. It's creating a giant doodad that covers the entire map, and then just telling it to always show no matter how far away it is, and he's making that doodad the World of Warcraft terrain. And then he's making a Warcraft 3 terrain on top of it that really loosely approximates that World of Warcraft terrain. And then he's setting it to be invisible. It's a very weird kind of hack. And the result of that hack is, if you look at, like, one of the guys replying on this thread was like, hold on, wait a minute. I tested your map, and for some reason in Warcraft 3 map editor, you can see the Warcraft 3 terrain and the World of Warcraft terrain, and they're fighting with each other. Because in the map editor, the Warcraft 3 terrain is visible by default. This guy uses some, script hack to make the Warcraft 3 terrain invisible, so you can still intersect with it for gameplay, but you don't see it. So that's a giant headache. Okay, and that's one way that you can try to pretend that you're playing World of Warcraft when you really, truly are not. But that is also not what I did in any other video where I was using my technology stack to pretend to play World of Warcraft. This video here that I was playing in the that thing with Shelly the Elf, that is using that other guy's map, and so he has the Warcraft 3 terrain. It's invisible. There's like a picture of the World of Warcraft terrain under it, essentially. This sort of doodad concept, like a tree, and then we just almost pretend as if we're interacting with the World of Warcraft terrain. And there are a bunch of other videos. I don't know. Maybe some of them are harder to find or not publicized on my channel. They might be in like hidden mode or something, but there are other videos of me using the sort of World of Warcraft UI hack on the Warcraft 3 emulator, and in my other videos when I did that, you might notice the terrain system is completely different. Let's see, this maybe that one, maybe this one, or even maybe this one. Okay, so a couple of these videos, I'm just reviewing my technology stack here. Here's a map where, and you'll notice this is a little bit different process. I talked about what I was doing on War Smash when people were like, oh, it looks like you're playing World of Warcraft, which is not what's happening at all. And I drew a map that almost looks like Westfall. But you'll notice this map that almost looks like Westfall, not only is it not Westfall, it's also not capable of being Westfall, because the Warcraft 3 terrain system that I used to actually draw this kind of map world, it has a lower resolution of how it intermixes textures, and so you couldn't actually express Westfall as exactly as people know it in that. Like in this kind of menu here where I have this map editor open, and I was drawing that, like you can't directly draw Westfall. It won't look the same because it just is not. And I think this video is kind of silly, but near the end of this video, we have a clip of me using again this similar technology, and it looks almost as if I'm in Tanaris, or perhaps some weird hybrid between Tanaris and Silithus. And this hybrid Tanaris Silithus type of thing. This is a map that I drew in Warcraft 3 map editor using terrain that loosely approximated the color patterns of World of Warcraft's terrain. But it is not at all World of Warcraft's terrain. So this is not, if you wanted to use the actual map layer of Eastern Kingdoms or something, you probably wouldn't want to use this technology, because it's more like a way of drawing World of Warcraft maps. Make your own little place and run around in it. And it really is not a map porting technology program. So it's interesting to think about if we're planning out what to do. You can imagine that someone, what was this guy's name? We said what his name. Warcraft Sandbox, right? Warcraft Sandbox. Oh yeah, here we go. Go back. Okay. Well, there's some new comments actually. Oh, we're commenting on distro. Looks like Ubuntu, mate. Sure, yeah, it's like you said, probably not Ubuntu. Okay, so Warcraft Sandbox is WoW Zone replication. You know, that's something you can do. Warcraft Sandbox utility, and we think this probably ports WoW version 9 terrains to War 3 geometry. Okay, ish, right? It doesn't really seem to be porting it exactly to a Warcraft 3 terrain. It seems to be turning it to a Warcraft 3 geometry. But clearly that technology exists. I've actually never used it. Like you just saw, I just downloaded a map of it. But that technology exists. There's also the Warsmash, World of Warsmash hack. So the World of Warsmash hack is essentially a way of loading WoW. What is it, like 0.5.2 or 3 or something, 2-ish model files onto Warcraft 3 emulator without porting them. By reading them directly. And this is made possible by a special thing. This really, really old version of World of Warcraft was using Warcraft 3's file format. It's crazy to think about that. But it actually is. Like if you go and download it, the model files are .mdx extension files. This is the same format we see in Warcraft 3. They're not .m2 files from the rest of World of Warcraft. So fundamentally, when you have a Warcraft 3 emulator, you essentially already have the technology for reading this, minus a few subtle changes, and I essentially made those changes in a forked off version of the Warsmash project. So because it takes a couple hours, parsing those old files is much easier to do than it would be, for example, to parse actual World of Warcraft terrain like this, or actual World of Warcraft model files, character files, art, whatever. Like what Warcraft Sandbox guy is doing. So we sort of have to think within the confines of these existing technologies if we want to try to map out where we're going. It's just a reality, right? And that is interesting to think, you know, if we were going to try to load the Eastern Kingdoms, how would you do it? And I think another problem inherent in this that we're not really thinking about here is solve the problem of map size. In other words, or where do we want to go? So the Scarlet Enclave thing is this cutout piece of Eastern Kingdoms that existed for Wrath of the Lich King. But independent of that, there is a map file in World of Warcraft for the entire Eastern Kingdoms, like this huge long map. And Warcraft 3 is not capable of processing maps larger than a certain size because you can select a unit and you can click on the absolute other side of the map, and a path tracer has to figure out, you know, pathfind, how do you get from here to there? And the pathfind system is not efficient over long distances, at least in my rewrite of Warcraft 3. The original game is more efficient than what I created because I'm just one guy, and originally they had a team of 30 people, and so they did better than I did. But I try to honor the same map size limits as Warcraft 3, but I do not support World of Warcraft map size limits. So we could imagine, you could try to use the Warcraft Sandbox utility, but it might fail because the map is too big, and that thing was built for Warcraft Reforged, so it probably can't load a map that's too big. Even then, when you try to deal with that and get past that and say, okay, we have this sort of emulator of Warcraft 3 that's perhaps easier to modify, we're still going to be hitting the same problem of the sizing of the map just being a fundamental issue, that Eastern Kingdoms is kind of too big. And I think if you really wanted this to succeed, similar to the sort of New Avalon little world and this little place over there, you would want to have a smaller chunk of the Eastern Kingdoms, you know, a littler place to go, something like that. So I'm going to leave the YouTube viewers to think about this one. If I do video editing, I might take this out of the video, but I'm actually going to go to the restroom and then come back and continue on our story here to see if we can... Sorry, I took my mic off. To see if we can get Eastern Kingdoms. Yep, so I'll be right back. Yeah, let's hope my video editors remove that part of the video. That would be nice. If not, it's like I'm trolling. Who would have thought? Okay, so we have now described the problem, and there is a big technological problem here. Our friend, what's his name? Gordo6908. Gordo6908 wants to go to Eastern Kingdoms, and I don't really want to stop him, but it looks like it's going to be difficult to help him. So what I'm going to do for starters, and I have some other problems of my own, but what I'm going to do for starters is I'm going to try to get, we're going to try to get Shelly the Elf and the WoW looking thing. I'm going to try to get that on my Linux computer right now. Now one of the biggest issues I'm going to have doing that is that, among other things, which will probably slow me down, the Shelly the Elf emulator universe of technology, it was usually running on maps that I was making, and maps that I was making are not, they're harder to make on Linux. Not every version of Linux, but I'm using Linux for paranoid people. Because I'm using Linux for paranoid people, my kernel actually only does 64-bit instructions. It doesn't do 32-bit instructions, which means that it's very difficult for me to run something like Wine, you know, the sort of go-between layer to try to run Windows programs, and as a result it's also quite difficult for me to run Warcraft 3 map editor. There is an open source Warcraft 3 map editor which would be much more likely to run on my computer because I could compile it for my computer. However, in the past, in my experience, the open source Warcraft 3 map editor, which I have used, you know, there's at least one video on my YouTube channel where I was like, hey, you can use open source map editor and an open source game, and you can exist entirely in your own code stack. Sure, I have shown how to do that before, but it's an endeavor, right? It's we're layering extra effort for the user onto that, versus if you were just going to make a map, you might just want to make that map with sort of the known working state of, you know, a 2005-ish, 2009-ish Warcraft 3 map editor, which don't run on my computer. So it becomes difficult. It becomes difficult to make maps. And what that means is we might get the technology running, and maybe for starters, we would run it on this WoW Scarlet Enclave map, because that's going to be easier, and then we can talk about trying to get, you know, how do you get the rest of Eastern Kingdoms? How do you want to do that? So let's see if we can do that. We're going to push download. We're going to start downloading things into documents over here, or not documents, WoW 3 the Frozen Throne. Now I'm actually a little bit out of order. If we go back to our guide, the first thing is actually want to get War Smasher and Rhetoric GitHub. So let's do that. I'm going to download War Smash. I think that makes sense, right? Download War Smash. Okay. Download War Smash. Cool. GitHub, Rhetoric War Smash mod engine. Comes right up. Alright, now there's these different code versions here. We want to use third-person Acarus map code branch. Conveniently, we have the well-named thing. It has 19 code commit changes independent of the main branch. So let's download that. Awesome. And we're going to put that in this folder. So we already have third-person Acarus map version, which is like a special hack to try to get us the World of Warcraft stuff. Then the other problem is that gives us War Smash. We also want to get Warcraft 3, and it needs to be the version from between 2005 and 2017. Now, I don't want to promote people to make bad decisions, but I do think that if you went on the internet and you were to decide, perhaps, that you wanted to try to find Warcraft 3, I have a hunch that it might not take you very long to download it. And this is a hunch that I have about the old version of the game that wasn't 30 megabytes. You know, it might be a little bit more time consuming to get the bigger one, but the old one, it might be pretty fast. So I'm going to leave that up to you regarding how would you get Warcraft 3 from between 2005 and 2017, but I think you can probably figure that one out. One of the things I like to do is use my personal backups. Now in this video, I might or might not do that, but if you really want to do it, you can actually download them directly from us.battle.net/download/getlegacy, and that's another way to get the version right here. So if you do that and then you enter your CD key, it'll just get them right there. Okay, so that's one way to get it, just for the record. Just you can get it straight from Battle.net and then enter your CD key. That's a good, I like to do that. If I'm on Windows computers where the installer application works as expected, that is definitely what I would do. I am a valid licensed CD key holder, so that is okay for me to do that. In fact, at one point, I actually bought like 10 CD keys because I thought it was funny, and I wanted to make sure I had all the versions of the game I could ever want. So, in my mind, that is perfectly reasonable. That I have a download of that, I'll be able to get that. World of Warcraft's a little bit more difficult. You think about how do you want to get WoW 5.2. So I don't even know where to get that actually. Somebody sent me one of those a while ago, but hold on. It says my download was canceled. I was downloading something, it got canceled. Full download history. Why was this canceled? Retry? Seems strange. Alright, I'm just going to let that go. Sure, so we're going to let that go for a minute. We got code, we're getting some assets, some Warcraft 3. We're going to want some World of Warcraft too. So, get some World of Warcraft. World of Warcraft 0.5. This one says 3. Let's try 3. I don't remember the difference. Patch. Leaked almost a year before the game's official release date. It's known for being extremely buggy and prone to crashes. Bare bones sandbox, lacking quests, NPCs, and most other MMORPG features. Oh, that's interesting. Okay. Oh, look at that. One notable project is a Python-based emulator, Grender G, which is a working sandbox where players can create characters, move around the world, see other players, and chat. Known as Alpha WoW, prototype emulator for 0.5.3 Alpha client, which uses basic networking and some implemented systems. Eastern Kingdoms named Atheros in this build received more development attention than Kalimdor, especially the zones surrounding Elwynn Forest. Some zones are nearly finished, while others, like Winter Spring, haven't been started on. Additionally, some small zones, such as the island of Dr. Lepidus, do not exist in the final release. For those interested in playing or contributing to these projects, resources and downloads are available in various forums and GitHub repositories. So it sounds like there's probably a better way if you just wanted to horse around with that to do that. Probably. I wonder if you can actually just go in Linux and be like, install Grender. No. I think I typed my password wrong. Don't worry about that. You have to use a really long password. That's the rules. Grender G. Okay, that's not on my package repository. Cool. All right, we downloaded this thing. Downloads. Let's get the other one. All right, great. So we got some WoW 5.3 over here. People have emulators for it. Like, okay, but where do you get it? Where does it come from? There is no previous patch. This is the oldest patch of World of Warcraft, known to man and mage alike. Alright, sure, they're reporting code bugs in it, right. I don't know where public client builds? Is that a real thing? Listing every World of Warcraft patch build. All public client builds, they're in the United States. This doesn't seem to have 0.5 on here. That seems to be missing entirely. Okay. Yeah, I don't know. So that's interesting to think. Where would you Where would you get that? I wonder if this guy has a... Okay, someone was gonna do that. This is all crazy. This guy here. No, why did you throw efficiency in the trash? You wrote it in Python. Grender G. Now, does this have a guide of where to get this version of the game? Like, somebody's gonna be like, GitHub issues. Where do I download? To do. I don't know. Where do you get? Okay. I don't want to do any of that. I just wondered where I could get that version of World of Warcraft. Nobody knows. Honestly, literally the way that I got that version of World of Warcraft on my computer, I don't know if I should say this. Actually, let's not talk about how I got it. Somehow I had it. I was talking to a guy about it, and he was talking to me, and maybe I was using his version, I think. So then you get back to where does he get his version? Am I allowed to use that? I don't know. That's up to him, I guess. Yeah, where do you get that from? That's actually a really good question. This is like how to get virus. Download Warcraft 3 old version. Download alpha server. Wow, is this one? WowDL.net. What is this? WowDL.net. Oh, it redirects to WowMania. Your ultimate World of War. This sounds a virus. This is so virus. I am not endorsing whatever this is, just so you know. This sounds like very virus. Okay, alert. Our new patch is in all the languages. Oh, that's good. They're teamed up with the Russians and Chinese. This sounds like very virus. Okay. Oh, they replaced my mouse with a sword. Please do not do that. Download client. Oh, that's what you want. Download client. There you go. What does that link to? Are they allowed to do that? Wow, Mania. Wait, now it's Wrath of the Lich King. Oh, these suckers. All-in-one patch. Yeah, this is not what I want. Okay. Maybe I'm just gonna be lame. Download WoW 0.513. Does that exist? Can I get that from somewhere? Emu Coach. What the heck is Emu Coach? These are so virus. I'm going to be recording this video. I'm going to get a virus. Installers. No, thank you. I do not want installer. I want the zip file. Führer alpha client. Okay, I don't want Hitler's Führer alpha client. I want the alpha client. Oh, WoW 5.3 emulator. What is this? Is it file upload? Virus. You don't have permission. Virus. So much virus. So this is obviously a problem that you have if you try to do this. He's just downloading emulators. I don't even think he's downloading the actual thing. They're just kind of like assuming that like people know how to get this. I don't know how to get this. Some random guy I was talking to was like, oh, what about this one? And then he showed me his. Like, how would anyone ever get this? Not WowMania. WowMania sucks. That's not what I'm looking for. Actually, I don't know if it sucks. I've never heard of it. I shouldn't say it sucks. I don't know what it is. Okay, look. Download WoW 0.5.3. This is proof of the Illuminati that this isn't just redirecting me to a link. How do we ask Google? You know, Google's pretty evil. If this is an evil thing to download this, they'll know how to be evil. here you go. Looking for, oh, sorry, the post was deleted. Oh, here you go. internetarchive.org. Well, that sounds pretty good. Client and installation archive. ISO image. Oh yeah, ISO WoW53 install. That sounds pretty good. Okay, that's also really big, but let's put it in there. Let's try it. So whatever it is, it's really good that I'm on a computer that doesn't have wine. That the wine doesn't work on this computer, because if it did, I would be at a security risk from downloading these things, but I'm not. So yeah, there's no wine on my computer. I don't want to do that. We're not going to do that. Okay, great. That's not a thing that we have. Yeah. So knowing that my computer doesn't have wine, that's going to help secure me against all this crap. I don't endorse this crap. It's a lot of crap out there in the world. Okay. We're going to download the ISO, blah, blah, blah. This guy wants an exe client. What do you even mean? Sure, yeah, okay. So, direct link 0.5.3. We're downloading it right now, 0.5.33368, I guess. Cool, so that's maybe a thing that is a thing. I don't know. Let's find out. That's super edgelord downloads, but I guess my point is I'm starting from a clean state over here. Now, again, I don't necessarily endorse any of this. Make sure you're a legal holder of the license of both the World of Warcraft and the Warcraft 3 or whatever. You know, that's, you want to do that. I'm just talking about technology is what I was doing right now. This is a really slow download. I wonder, I'm getting pretty tired. While this downloads, we should entertain ourselves. So let's go look at, let's think about this some more. What is this? What do we think of this? So is this your goal? What's your goal? I still really regret that the combat doesn't work. I think it would be really fun to have combat in this. I do. I think that would be very fun. And, you know, obviously, like the internet said, I guess you can download all sorts of emulators or something. I would imagine what is different in this case is our integration with Warcraft 3, which also points out if we want to go the route of integration with Warcraft 3, then, you know, you can have like a trigger, like it's a Warcraft 3 lich. He's got some trigger where he does some shapeshift, something like that.
But is it a unit?
And he talks to us. Yeah, so anyway, I've been putting off trying to put combat in this system for a long time. But yeah, this is just a map I made in Warcraft 3 map editor. So, or some map editor, you know, I mean, it might have been the open source one. You'd have to check on that. It might, there might be a way to check on that, but there you go. It's a cuboid spider monster. This was a joke video. We were making fun of, I don't know, getting killed by the spider monsters. Or like this one, you know, this almost looks like Elwyn Forest, but we didn't have the skybox loaded in. That's another problem. What kind of skybox are you going to use, you know? You got to think about that.
Can you see that we trust the reality?
What kind of skybox are you going to use, you know? That's a good question. So these are all interesting questions technologically. You know, what's your skybox? What are you going to do to get to the world where you just push escape and play World of Warcraft? But obviously you got to have these games first, and that's sort of time consuming, I guess. Let's go unzip whatever we already got. That sounds fun. So if I go to this folder WoW3 where we downloaded some stuff, what do we got here? I don't know, we're downloading some things, but I think we could unzip installer. Let's get Reign of Chaos. This sounds pretty important. Okay. Installer tome.mpq. That sounds kind of fake. Okay. unzip, installer, TFT. Okay, we need Warcraft 3, Frozen Throne, Reign of Chaos. I don't even know if you need a Frozen Throne, actually. You might be able to not do that. It depends, I guess, if you have an expansion CD key lying around. Then we have WoW Scarlet Enclave map, I guess. Death Knight starting bundle map file. So that's fun. That gets us a map to play. And then, yeah, I guess we also have the code, you know. Lore Smash. That whole thing. It's got its folder over there. So now we have some code, and we have some Warcraft 3, and we might even be in the process of downloading some more of the Warcraft. So that's kind of fun. How, is this stuff going to work? You know, probably not. In my experience, probably not. And maybe that's sort of the point too. But it would be fun if I could make it work. You know, I think that would be quite interesting. Let's have a look. And it's also really late at night, so I might go to sleep here pretty soon. It's a possibility that might happen. Definitely a possibility. Seems like a very slow download that I'm doing from archive.org. So you know what? Let's forget the archive.org download, because we should be able to play this map without it, right? I think so. So let's try to go to Lore Smash Mod Engine third-person Acros map. So this is our game engine thing. That's great. So this has a bunch of code folders. This is where the magic really happens. And there's a script included in the code folders called Gradle W. And this is like an automatic build thing. It knows how to download some dependencies and do some stuff for us. So why don't we just Gradle W desktop : run game? I feel like that's fun. Let's try to play the Warcraft 3 emulator part. This will not work because I didn't tell it where the Warcraft 3 install is yet. So how would it launch? I also didn't. There's a game I made that uses the same game engine but doesn't use Warcraft 3 assets. That is on the Hive somewhere, but nobody is playing that. It mostly was just a proof of concept. So we could download that and point it at that as well, right? But you have to point it to something. It doesn't by default do any of that. So let's not do that right now. We'll just let it run. It'll fail, but it's running. So actually, when you run this on your computer, it'll be different than my computer because I already installed something. So one of the things this requires is you have to. Oh, what was that? My computer like flashed. I don't know. I hope I didn't lose it all. Lose my video recording. No, I'm still recording. Okay, good. So you're going to want to actually install OpenJDK 17JDK. This is a package that is very important and is not installed automatically by that other thing. Once you install that, it'll ask you click yes or something, and then you'll have the Java. So I already have the Java, and that lets me run the Java build system over here with the run game. So it says successful, but the game didn't launch. So that's confusing. But here's why. After it said War Smash engine is starting, and this is my code. So this is saying after all these stupid compile processes and other things, we did actually run my code. It's very nice. But we didn't get very far. So what happened after that? I created a system of log files to tell us what happened. So we can go into core assets logs, which is where these actual logs are. You can see there's been 2 logs created. One of them is an error log, and one of them is a generic output information log. So you go to the error log, and you can see there is no such file, War Smash, whatever this is. So this is some default value that's getting loaded from whatever computer uploaded this code to GitHub, which is also kind of gross. There shouldn't be a default. It should ask you or something and then help you with some kind of UI. I didn't do that yet. So you have to go into this folder here, and maybe you don't like the terminal. Maybe you're like, ooh, using the terminal, that's gross. So if we go back to this folder that we were in, basically what I'm doing in this folder, I'm in War Smash Mod Engine third-person Acros map, and I'm just going to go to core assets, and that's where these logs are, right? But outside of that is War Smash INI. There's a bunch of other stupid War Smash INIs in here that I left in or something, and none of them, they're not good. We don't want them. They shouldn't be there. You should just edit this one. And we should fix this one. So we need to get this configuration going, and the way to do that, first off, is to load Warcraft 3. So how do we do that? So this Warcraft 3, when you download it, you'll probably be on Windows. And on Windows, the installer is some executable that knows how to install the Warcraft 3. I don't want to have Windows executables run on my Paranoid People machine, because I'm using a machine for Paranoid People. So instead of that, because that isn't going to work on my computer, I'm going to go to this Reign of Chaos folder where this thing is located, and I'm going to use a program that is the MPQ program. Yeah, SMPQ over here. And you can install that, you know, like apt install SMPQ or something like that. But I'm going to use the SMPQ, and I'm going to extract installer tome. Okay, now let's see where that gets us. I don't really know, but let's hope. Yeah, there you go. So we've got some common Mac PC files. Now, if I look at PC, you can see that there. That's pretty good. That has the PC files. There's also common, and common has Warcraft 3 and Warcraft 3 patch. And this is where things start to get really good. Warcraft 3 and Warcraft 3 patch from the common folder are all we really need. If we go and make a folder, we'll be able to do things. So I'll do it in the folder editor so people can see what I'm doing. But let's also go in the Frozen Throne folder, and I'm going to use the same thing. So you might install these games, and it might run a little bit differently. I'm on Linux. I'm not going to install these games. Okay, I already own them. I already installed them on Windows years ago. Now I'm just using this extractor command on the installer tome. So this means I have these files. So like if we go, let's make a big folder called data. And this data folder is where we're going to put all the data. In fact, let's not even put it there. Let's have an even better data folder. Actually, where should that go? I'm trying to think how you want to do that. So the fundamental config files are in core assets. So this is our assets folder. Why don't we just put the stuff in there? That makes sense. Okay, so here's what we're going to do. We're going to go to Reign of Chaos. We're going to these common files. Warcraft 3, Warcraft 3 patch. We're going to put those in assets folder. That makes sense. Okay, now I have Warcraft assets. Then I don't have to navigate to find them. Now I go to the Frozen Throne expansion. And let's get the same assets from that one. That seems pretty good. And we'll put that in the core assets folder that's already there as well. Now it asks me, do I want to replace the patch file for the Reign of Chaos with the patch file for the Frozen Throne? Sure, of course I do. Okay, so now I have all these nice files in the assets folder. Now, if we go back to my configuration file here that was originally made on Windows, what we have now is something for Linux. Now, Linux actually is really picky about whether you use capital or lowercase letters. So you'll notice we want to just do current directory Warcraft 3, current directory Warcraft 3 local. You'll notice Warcraft 3 local doesn't really exist here because I'm using English. So we can just skip that one. Okay, which means these numbers actually shift. Now, somebody once told me we shouldn't have numbers and we shouldn't have to shift them. Sure, fair point. But for today, we have numbers, so let's shift them. So now you can see there's Warcraft 3, and now there's Warcraft 3 expansion, and the expansion has some file called War3x local. Now you notice, like I said, for Linux, we got to capitalize that L. And then, actually, in this particular configuration, this is a version of Warcraft 3 that also has a patch file, so we need Warcraft 3 patch. So we put that in there, and you got to increase these numbers again, because that's pretty important. So I actually shouldn't have even bothered changing them. But there you go. We reset the numbers. We have the Warcraft 3 installed. That's pretty good. Now, there's also this reference to a folder called resources. This is kind of unfortunate. Built into WarSmash is the need for this resources folder, which has some kind of common ability scripting things that are a work in progress, and some UI files that define elements of the user interface that seemed to be missing in Warcraft 3. It didn't seem like Warcraft 3 had any files to define these. Somebody just hard-coded them in code, and I thought they should be replaceable files. So I put them in this replaceable files thing. Like someday if somebody makes an even bigger divide in WarSmash, so you have WarSmash as an engine, game engine kind of idea, and then you have Warcraft 3 emulation as like a shim you put on top of it. These would be like the resources that go into the Warcraft 3 shim for specific to emulating Warcraft 3 or something, probably. Okay, great. So now we have the resources folder, but you'll notice also this has reference to the maps folder. Now this one's a little bit more silly because where are the maps? So if you go in here and you look at, these installers that kind of opened up, see, they have the Windows uninstallers, they have PC. Ah, here you go. PC 100 seems to have all the maps in it. So why don't we make a folder where we'll put the maps? Because we don't have a really good map editor on this computer, we might as well go and grab all the maps and put them in a nice folder. Now, right now I think I'm looking at Reign of Chaos and not the Frozen Throne, but that's probably fine. File 3 Frozen Throne. So I guess in this core assets folder, we could make a maps folder, and we could just put it in there. That'll be fine. Okay, so now we can have a folder called maps. It's just in that same directory, really. And then it also wanted to read current directory, and it wanted to read Warcraft 3 install directory. We probably don't even need this. But what we do need is we need that World of Warcraft. We need the World of Warcraft. So how are we going to put that on the same set of data sources? Let's save this. That's pretty important. Also, you'll notice down here, player settings, use 28, 24 players, and 16 for 12 players. And this is set at 16, which is a bit weird that that's set to 16, but it's probably fine. Game version, music, whatever. The rest of that stuff's probably fine. We probably don't have to care about it. So, yeah, I think we're almost done on Warcraft 3 emulation. We just probably don't have World of Warcraft emulation, which might mean that we could go back here and run. Where did I run Gradle? Did I run Gradle in one of these? Maybe I did not. Kind of thought I did. Installing Java. Oh yeah, I ran Gradle up here. Okay, so if we go back up 2 levels, we run some Gradle. There you go. Run some Gradle. So this actually tried to launch the game. You can see it actually got closer along, but it didn't really get there. Now I think it might be the reason it didn't really get there. I wonder if it's because I didn't delete this annoying thing off the end of there. But we're going to have to add back World of Warcraft. So with those stupid numbers, I was thinking I would keep some slots open. Maybe we don't need any open slots of that. Now it still failed, so that's a little bit weird. If you look at core assets log and we look at the most recent error log, what do we see here, right? No file war3x patch. So that's kind of a weird one. Oh yeah, x patch. Why is it x patch? That shouldn't be x patch. That's just wrong. Yeah. So it's not called war3x patch. It's called war3 patch. There you go. Like I said, it's picky. All right. So we tried to run the game. Still didn't run. Why didn't it run this time? Error log. Error log says no such file resources. Now you're thinking to yourself, we just looked at that. We know there's a resources folder. Again, Linux is picky and cannot accept Windows / in the file paths. It's a little bit silly. The original config file was for Windows. We're on Linux now. How about that? I hope it screen recorded it because I can't really tell. But if you guys can see it, and I don't know if you can, I was able to launch the game. And when I did, it looked like it was running Warcraft 3. So that's kind of nice. We have Warcraft 3 emulation to the extent that this thing does that. Now it's doing that. Great. But how do you get World of Warcraft? So let's see if our download finished on that, whatever that is. If we go back to WoW 3 Frozen Throne folder, we're trying to build some memes here. Let's build some good memes. WoW 5.3 right there. Okay, so if I go down to that one, you know, there's always on Linux, there's always a way to unzip these things. So let me just make a folder called WoW, because I'm not exactly sure if this is going to work. But we're going to go in this WoW folder, and we might explode this ISO. I'm pretty sure if I like unzip or unextract the ISO, that if I double click that, yeah, open with Archive Manager, here you go. So this is kind of funny. The technology is the exact same as Warcraft 3. There's this installer tome thing, and there's like install exe and whatever else, skip. Yeah, I don't really care about any of that. All we really need is installer tome. How big is that? It's already there. Okay, it's a fast computer. All right, nice. So now in this folder, you can see we have installer tome. So let's do that same thing again. SMPQ-X installer tome. Now again, if you have a CD key to this, you know, or something like that on your computer, maybe you're doing it that way. All right, what does that create? Files data. Oh, that's good. Files data. Okay, so you can see we get to files data, and we have some maps. We have all the maps. I guess Kalimdor and the temples and what is that? The Azeroth maps. So Azeroth world T map might be what you really want, but what I'm going to start off here with is the DBC fonts, texture, speech, sound, models, and all of these nice things. These are nice things. We want to add these, and as I said, one idea would be to try to port them. I'm not really doing that. I'm just going to load them directly into the same technology space. So that seems like fun. So if we do that, we should be able to go in here, and similar to how we have these other MPQs and we have like the resources folder, we probably want to just make some space here and start pasting these in. Okay, so yeah, we're going to want DBC MPQ as 4, and then just make more of these. Fonts MPQ, and then interface MPQ. Oh, and it's capitalized MPQ, and on Linux, they're going to be really picky on the capitals versus lowercase. Okay, interface, MISC MPQ, and we're going to have to go back and change the numbers after this. Model MPQ, sound MPQ, speech MPQ, and texture MPQ. Okay, great. And then I wonder if I turn on insert, maybe I can just do like 5. No, it still is moving. Okay. 10, 11, 12. So I think that makes sense. Now, is there another one after texture? No. Okay. So you can see what we're doing here. We load Warcraft 3, and then we load World of Warcraft on top of it at a higher numeric index. And then we load War Smash and maps last. So I think that makes sense. I think that's a fairly logical way to do this. It does eventually become annoying because you're going to start to wish you could edit these things, and then it's like, why are they, and don't get these numbers wrong like I did, why are they MPQs if you want to edit them? It's a good question. Also, this supports comments, so you can put a note for yourself here. This is Warcraft 3, this is WoW, and then this is War Smash tech stack, whatever. Okay, War Smash stuff. Cool. So we got some notes there, and we want to have, we're going to note that there are now 16 items in this count. I think one of the GitHub contributors made it my code didn't need the count anymore, maybe, but I still like to update the count. I always forget if it's needed or not, and you're better safe than sorry. So we update the count to match the number of items, which I think makes sense. Emulator, server, cool. So that all seems pretty good. Now we have this bizarre combined thing. Now the interesting question is, in running this bizarre combination, can we do that? Can it fundamentally load? Will it launch? These are good questions. So if I go back up one directory, CD up, and then I go into the War Smash mod engine third person Acris map folder, can I Gradle W desktop : run game again and have it run Warcraft 3? But now we're loading World of Warcraft in that context. No, we did not. It crashed. That's always fun. Why did it crash? Most recent log. Okay, error log. It crashed because is a directory. So that's a bit of an odd one. We go back to this INI file. It means something is like tagged as a folder that's not a folder. Maybe the numbers are wrong? Yeah, the numbers are wrong. Here you go. So I went from 10 to 11 too soon. Like I said, don't get the numbers wrong, don't get the count wrong on the listed items. This is silly. I've had people tell me before there should be a UI for this data widget. To be honest, there is a UI for the data widget. I know it's totally irrelevant to what we're doing, but in a totally different folder on my computer. Also, what is that? Am I allowed to leak you that? Or do I have to ban this video now because we leaked these other? No, these are just stupid. This is just Claude programming, graph paper. Yeah, nothing here tells you anything about my life. Okay, great. So anyway, the point I was going to try to make is that elsewhere, far and away, I do have a data widget for doing this. Excuse me. So in a really ideal world, this kind of crap we would do with a data widget, and I actually have that in the preferences window. Warcraft data. We have you can add MPQs. You can clear. You can automatically add a Warcraft install. You can add a cask. All these things. So you could imagine doing all that, but I didn't spend my time setting that up here because I was more focused on having a flat file that, I don't know, I could just go in and hack. It was just how I wanted to do it. The other one is not really a file. It's like a GUI and it's just coded all differently. Anyway, let's see if this runs now. Let's hope it does. Awesome. So, as you guys can see, the game's still launched. Now, if you wanted to be really sure if this is working, it's kind of funny thought here. Shouldn't you be able to load the World of Warcraft menu instead of the Warcraft 3 menu? I have no idea. I don't remember. But I think it should be possible. So if I'm right about that, which I might or might not be, then you would think we would be able to change that. Now, in order to change that, we're going to want to actually go to something that is a UI so we can get work done. So now I'm in Retro Model Studio, which I happen to have on my computer. It's a totally separate program I wrote and works totally differently. But if this is going to allow me to do inspections on the technology here, because we want to look at in model MPQ, does this model MPQ actually have somewhere in there, and now we have this hybridized Warcraft 3 World of Warcraft showing, but basically something like UI glue main menu. Is there a world where main menu has Elwyn flowers? Doesn't that, what does that tell you? Main menu 3D. If it fails to load, it's this one. Okay, so this has Elwyn flowers. That's funny. What does that tell you? Can I load these? Yeah, okay, they're actual. So those are Warcraft 3 textures. So this is another thing. Along with the inspection functions, once we get to the World of Warcraft files, they won't be able to load, which means I'm not in the right folder, which means in World of Warcraft files are probably an interface instead of UI. Interface, glues, model. UI main menu. Here you go, this one. So interface, glues, models, UI main menu, UI main menu. We failed to load it probably because it's not really Warcraft 3 format, but we can copy its path to the clipboard. And then we could do something kind of fun. If we export the, what is it? Oh, that was an error, ignore that. UI War 3 skins file. And so once we want to start overriding files in our assets folder, I'm pretty sure we can do that both in core assets or in resources because we specified both of those in our INI file. I don't really care too much, but we've already got all the MPQs here in core assets, so I'm kind of leaning towards, we already have that, we have like maps. Why don't we put our overrides in here? I think that makes sense. Or should we put them in resources? Because I guess resources, maybe resources makes more sense. Okay, so resources already has a UI folder. Oh, that's good. So that's where we should put it. Okay, so we're going to go to WoW 3 the Frozen Throne. We're going to go to this Acaris map folder. And we're going to go to resources, UI. So I'm exporting the Warcraft 3 UI definition file because I want to change it. And I want to go to UI glue main menu. Glues main menu. Awesome. So I'm going to go to the main menu, and this is a button. Glue sprite layer back. It's not really the sprite layer background. That would be something separate. Main menu 3D. It's main menu 3D. You know what I mean? Main menu 3D. Okay, great. Oh, it is actually the glue sprite layer background. Okay, great. So V1 is the Frozen Throne, running Frozen Throne by default. We're going to replace that one. In fact, how about it won't be V1, just all versions, whether it's anything. We're going to set all versions glue sprite layer background to interface glues models UI main menu. So this is really funny because if this works, we should have a totally different main menu background that should be loading from the World of Warcraft content that we're loading in the same game system at the same time. How about that? This is when things get really interesting because now you can see that we have the cross-compatible engine which is loaded on the computer. Now I don't like that my cursor is not getting captured, so I actually want to change in Warsmash INI to help me make this video, and you probably wouldn't want to necessarily do this. I'm going to disable cursor capture in my game client. The other thing I'd like to do is run this as windowed mode, which I think we can do with, what is it, -p args equals -window, something like that. I think makes it windowed mode as an arg. Yeah, okay. So I can run it as a window, and I have my cursor uncaptured, so I can like drag the window around and talk about it. But anyway, you can see how this is kind of fascinating. So we have the dual universe technology in the game system that is capable of now we're loading World of Warcraft and Warcraft 3. Now most people on planet Earth who try to put World of Warcraft things into Warcraft 3, they port those things, which means they use a technology that reads in the World of Warcraft and exports it into a Warcraft 3 file. This system is not doing that. This system is a dual engine capable of loading both the files because this really, really old version of World of Warcraft is in the Warcraft 3 format. If you use a newer version of World of Warcraft, that would never work. Okay, but it allows you to do funny shenanigans like that. You know, and a similar kind of thing. You could go to interface cursor, you could copy that one, and then you could go back to your Warcraft 3 UI definitions file, find where it tells it like what cursor gets used. Cursor is UI, human cursor. Now I think cursor is different in the different modes, so you probably want to go to the default mode, I would imagine. Yeah, cursor, UI, human cursor down here at the bottom in the default section, and tell it instead to use interface cursor, which is the WoW cursor. So if I did that right, we should have the WoW cursor loaded as well on the WoW menu. It's still the Warcraft 3 menu software because that is actually how this emulator is working, but it's like the WoW menu style. Oh, it didn't really work. So maybe it just always loads human on that one. I don't know. Maybe I wouldn't be surprised. Okay, so wrap around back to the top. Spell area of effect. Human cursor up here, maybe. Now all human cursors will just be World of Warcraft cursors. Sure. Maybe. Yeah, look at that. See, now it's the big metal World of Warcraft cursor hand. That's kind of fun. I actually might put that one back. That's sort of unimportant, but I thought it was funny, you know? Okay, great. So now that we have that, and we have this fun what's it, you know, we're playing the fun what's it, this is when things start to get interesting, because your fun what's it can support fun what's it maps. And fun what's it maps might have World of Warcraft trees in them or something, right? I mean, that's really interesting. What is that? And those are hard to get unless you have a good map editor, which I don't currently have set up. So if I go in here and try to play this, you'll notice that for the most part, it's just emulating Warcraft 3, and I've just changed the menu, which is, you know, not particularly extraordinary accomplishment. But if I go into the game on some random map, I'm pretty sure it won't even run. Maybe. And it'll be interesting to look at why. The reason why it won't run is when this gets really interesting, right? Because it's going to try to support... Yeah, it didn't run. So the reason it crashed when it tried to actually play the game should again be in the logs folder, so we can actually take a look at what's really going on there, right? And so if I say, okay, what's really going on there in core assets logs, we'll notice that we did a whole bunch of stuff, blah, 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 loading the game. Also, there's this weird window down here. What was that about? All right, some crap. Yeah, and then we get down here and we try to find pawn unit is null. Okay, so unknown unit ID player. So this is the way my hack works. It tries to spawn a World of Warcraft character into the Warcraft 3 map. There is always one per player, and it uses the unit ID player to spawn. So the weirdness of this is that you have to get like some kind of Warcraft 3 map editor technology and add a unit called player. This is where I like to get Shelly the Elf. Shelly the Elf is very nice. Shelly the Elf is nice because Shelly the Elf's... Sorry, I clicked the wrong button there. Shelly the Elf is nice because Shelly the Elf has a geometry character art that does what we want. But you know what? Maybe you don't want to use Shelly the Elf. Maybe you just want to use a World of Warcraft model directly. I was going to go download Shelly, but what's the point of that? We already have... We're in here, we're looking at these Warcraft models. Let's just use one of the like character creature models or something, you know? So I think that's what I did here before. Well, okay, so using the character creature models is actually, maybe that's harder than I would want it to be, now that I say that. Yeah, maybe that's harder than I want it to be. So one of the challenges these WoW characters have, if you go in here and you find like creature high elf, which this is obviously Shelly the Elf is almost identical to creature high elf female warrior. Where that is different, I guess, is does Is this, can I just search Hive Workshop for Shelly the Elf? Is that how that works? Keyword Shelly? No. Alright. There was maybe in music, sound music. I wonder if I attached Shelly the Elf to the Shelly the Elf song that I uploaded. That might have been what happened. Oh yeah, Lua uncensored song. No, it doesn't have Shelly the Elf. Oh, I thought there was. Okay, we're just going to search by author Retera, and it's probably going to come up. Admittedly, I don't see it. I really thought I uploaded it to the internet where anybody could get it. Shelly the Elf and the Necropolis in the Sky. Where did that go? Don't we have that? It was attached to something. Wait, why are all my things thumbs down? Why is this thumbs down? Never mind, never mind, never mind. I don't care about that. We're just looking for Shelly the Elf. Oh, I think it's in the ported models section. No, that totally makes sense. That checks out. Yeah. Okay, sorry, I forgot about that. Author, Retera, ported models section. There won't be much here. Yeah, wow, Acarus with the Wintervale Light Show. This is what you want. Okay, great. Shelly the Elf, download. That's what it's all about. Put that in the folder. So obviously you would want to not have to do this, because you would think to yourself, well, we just loaded all of World of Warcraft. Why don't we just get the World of Warcraft characters directly or something? I don't know. I mean, you could do that, but what happens if you do that? So let's try that. You know, Shelly the Elf is like downloading back there or whatever, but sure, human, citizen, blacksmith, whatever this is, copy path to clipboard. Remember that. So now we have this blacksmith, human, citizen thing. Now, what you'd have to do, what you want to do, is make a Warcraft 3 unit for this. Now, you're going to think to yourself, well, how can we make a Warcraft 3 unit? We don't have Warcraft 3 map editor because I'm only running open source programs because I'm on a version of Linux for paranoid people. How do you do that? Well, it turns out when I was a kid and I was like hanging out in college or something, this is probably not even college, this might have been high school, I don't know. I was hanging out as a kid, I had like nothing to do. Actually, I had things to do, I probably was just procrastinating, but I thought to myself, I would really like to rewrite Warcraft 3 editor because I don't want to deal with the real one anymore. Even back then, you know, all those years ago. So at some point, I made my own version of the object editor, which has come in great handy when I can only run open source programs. Now, obviously, you go to more modding sites, there's all kinds of technologies for building Warcraft 3 custom objects, but in my case, I have the object editor. Now, you can see this is not really Warcraft 3's object editor. We have lightning effects and weather and sound sets and whatever the heck, and there's a behavior tab for abilities, which mistakenly shows up on everything, including units, which just don't click on it. So this, you know, I've done a bunch of hackery on this from time to time, but the important thing is we can click this new unit button and I can say I'm going to make a new unit, Shelly the Elf, and let's make Shelly off of Sylvanas Windrunner, and we're going to name this Shelly the Elf. Okay, new unit, Shelly the Elf. Now actually you put that name in the name and not the hero name, so we want to put it as the hero name, Shelly, and we'll put the type name as the Elf. How about that? Shelly the Elf over here. Okay. So this is Shelly the Elf, but then you get another problem. That Shelly the Elf's ID is H00 if you control D to view all data. And also, Shelly the Elf's model is Sylvanas the Windrunner. So instead of that, we want to put this human blacksmith in here, which is actually probably not Shelly. So maybe this is, maybe I should have another unit. Yeah, alright, let's have another unit. You can see I put that human blacksmith path I copied, but let's try to copy some other thing. You know, let's copy high elf, female, warrior, copy to clipboard, which I think is the Shelly the Elf model. Let's just put that in here, high elf, female, warrior. And then maybe copy the peasant, and then try to get blacksmith, human. Oh, they have human female blacksmith. Okay. How does that work? I don't know. All right. Human merchant. So you can see it's very annoying. You can't actually view the models here in Retera Model Studio. I think that's quite silly. Which is why one of the things that you would want to do, actually, and when you're doing this project, I always end up doing this when I do this project. I can try to avoid it, but I end up doing it. On my GitHub Retera, there's Retera's Model Studio. But this is what people don't know. There's a secret version in here that's called like MDX 1300. Now, MDX 1300 refers to the weird old World of Warcraft version. So you download that, you put that in the folder, okay? And it's a weird fork. It's totally different, but I don't really care if it's totally different. Just Retro Model Studio MDX 1300. You know, drag that out, unextract that. You could do that in the terminal like I did before, but you know, it doesn't really matter too much. And you can run that just the same. So if I go in the same folder, where do we put that? Retro Model Studio 1300. Now this one, there might be some issues. It looks like it hasn't been run on Linux before. I don't know. Let's try great old run on this one and see if it just opens up. In which case, we probably don't need that one. So there was some weird stuff going on with Retera's Model Studio code a few years ago, and the code actually forked off in another version, which I then stopped using and kept going in the old one. And this Retera Model Studio 1300 is actually part of the fork more so than where the direction, the mainline code has gone. So it's an extremely different version. Like this thing, C++ natives parsing FBX models. I don't want any of that. I don't care about that. So we'll just skip that. Okay. But we're back to this menu. We have to add our Warcraft 3 installs. So I think what we want to do is we want to go back to core assets where we put all the MPQs, and we want that folder. Now this messes up and only puts War3 and War3X because it doesn't know what it's doing. So we have to add War3X local and patch, and then we want to add all the World of Warcraft in here. DBC, fonts, interface, MISC, model, sound, speech. And you're thinking to yourself, why do we have to do this? That's a good question. Why do we have to do this? But it'll get us to where, what is this? Exception input equals null. Okay. Sure, just load, just do it. Argument equals null, RMS icons. It's very stupid. Okay, failed for 2 attempts. Just run it again if that happens. Okay, doesn't load that thing. I don't care. Okay, so it's clearly a bit messed up. Perhaps it's so messed up that we cannot even use it. But I think we should be able to get around it. It might be that it doesn't work on Linux because some kind of dork broke it. It's possible. It's possible. Somebody dorked it up so that it doesn't work on Linux. All right, this doesn't seem to be working. So yeah, I think that what we want to do is to try to fix that, which is again a bit weird to do, but this is a very useful tool if we can get it to go. So Model Studio Res. One of the things it does in your home directory, there'll be like Retera Studio, but there'll be some other one too. It's not just Retera Studio Beta. So we want to remove Retera Studio Beta folder, I think, from your home directory. Don't remove anything that you don't actually want, you're not okay with getting rid of. But by me removing that, I've cleared the cache. I can run the program again. I can get back to this menu, which unfortunately didn't work the first time. So we definitely want to add Warcraft 3 stuff to try to get this to launch. Actually, maybe we don't. What if I just push OK? Oh, no, then it doesn't work either. So in theory, this is supposed to be able to run anyway. If we look at models to resources, this resources folder should have worked, but it doesn't. So that's very stupid. This is very, very stupid, and it's bad, and it means that the code is bad, and the people writing it should probably feel bad for making things that only really work on Alright, com, have workshop, RMS, UI icons. Com, what is this? Oh no, okay. Model Studio, source, com, have workshop, RMS, UI icons, RMS icons. This thing, and which one? Which one is failing to load? It's failing to load 54, line 54, whatever that is. Very stupid. It's using backslashes. Oh, that's it. Okay. Apparently we can't handle the backslashes. Change them all to forward slashes. I don't know. Maybe that'll do it. I just want to run it, you know? I think that makes sense. So that's very unfortunate that I would have to do that. And we can hope that you won't have to do that, because that's annoying. Oh, this is even more annoying. Okay. Okay, yep. So we can't get game textures. This is bad program design to depend on the game textures that we can't find, because it doesn't really work. And then you think to yourself, why is it built this way? You know, it's like we don't even care about the images. We don't care about the UI of the program. We just want it to work, you know? But it's not. It's not working. Main panel, okay. Com, Hive Workshop, RMS, UI application, main panel. 1221. Okay, Com, Hive Workshop, RMS, UI. This is not what we should be doing, because this is very tangential to what we're doing. Look at this. Okay, replay dash play. But you know what else? Double backslash. Just put forward slash on it. It'll probably work. What else could go wrong? Okay, okay. Nope, we got another one. Okay, alright, yep. So actually this one might be fixable from the menu. Maybe. If we look at whatever's going on in this kind of menu. Oh, really? Okay, we have to, oh yeah, here we go, this thing. So what I want to do is add, not that, this one, core assets, War3, War3X, War3 patch, War3X local. I did it out of order. You want to move local up one, so patch is after local. Okay. I just got to get this thing to run. Once it runs, we can add World of Warcraft to it. Awesome. Did it? Okay, it ran. Can I get units, human, footman? That's a lot of footman stuff. Okay, footman. Nice. Okay, so we're loading Warcraft 3. Now we're in business. Now we're in business, because this is the part where we go to the folder, to the core assets. We add DBC, and honestly, mostly we just want to add models, but sure, DBC, fonts, interface, MISC, models, sound, whatever else, model, sound, speech, yep, texture, all of that. This is fun. This is very fun. So this is some Redder Model Studio. It thinks it's the beta build from the year 2020, but what it really is it's our special cheat code that lets us go to texture, or it lets us go to character mode and try to look at something like high elf, female, whatever, female warrior. And you might have to zoom in, but case in point, now we're loading World of Warcraft models. This is where it gets really good. Now we have this character with stand. This is where Shelly the Elf actually came from. And you got to get the high elf female warrior texture here, copy path on clipboard, because the textures like to not load. I'm just going here and paste them in anyway. And this is actually not quite Shelly the Elf. I guess this is the high elf. I think Shelly the Elf was using the blood elf character art. Sure, so this is a slightly different one, but we could use that one. You know, or maybe not. Maybe you decide that you actually think the mage or the hunter or the priest looks better. I don't know. High elf female hunter, does that worth? What does she look like? Does she look cool? Is that a cool character? You might have to decide for yourself which character is cool. But you have to skin them. You know, they have to have the skin set. Yeah, maybe you want to use this character instead of Shelly the Elf. Like, okay. So we now know high elf female hunter file path. So you can copy that to the clipboard. Go back to the object editor, okay, where Shelly the elf was set to the warrior. Let's set it to the hunter now. That's more fun. But we have this fundamental problem, which is, how do I say this? It doesn't, we're not correctly letting ourselves set the skin of this character. You notice I had to go in model properties and set the skin. And this is not a thing that Warcraft 3 typically has. So we have to actually edit our editor. We have to edit the editor over here and make it more powerful. And this is kind of painful to do this. So I'm going to edit the editor, but now you'll see I have two versions of Retro Model Studio, and one of them is in World of Warcraft land and works, and one of them is really not World of Warcraft land. It's just Warcraft 3. It's like the kind of version you get off the internet. So this one here that's 4.5K, this is like today's Retro Model Studio. This one is a 5-year-old version hacked to load World of Warcraft. But if I use today's version, and you can see, I don't know, yeah, I tried to add like model MPQ or something. Let's get rid of that. What we really want to do is we want to actually modify the world editor to give us property settings so we can set the skin of the elf to then use our elf character. So to make that work for Shelly over here, because this is like if you weren't going to download the Shelly model and you were going to actually try to skin it with the World of Warcraft properties, we have to edit the editor. So how do you do that? How do you edit the editor? This one's a fun one. If you actually go to units, unit metadata on Warcraft 3, there is a file that actually defines what properties units have. And we want to add properties so that we can set the World of Warcraft skin property of our Warcraft 3 unit. So in order to do that, we're going to extract this unit metadata. And you got to be sure, you got to be thinking to yourself, you got to be sure that you put this inside your core assets folder again. Or actually not. Actually, how about resources? Let's put it in resources. So there was already resources UI. Now we're going to have the same thing, resources units. We're going to put unit metadata in there. Now in order to make that load, I'm going to go to the preferences window and I'm going to add the folder of that we were just looking at, our resources folder, to the list of things loaded by the Retro Model Studio. And this has to be the same version of Retro Model Studio that I'm running Object Editor out of, because again, I'm not really using Warcraft technology. I'm using my rewrite of everything, and that means my rewrite of Object Editor. So now that I did this, we have my rewrite of Object Editor, but it's getting its properties from whatever else. So here I relaunched it, but actually that doesn't help me very much. I also forgot to save, so we actually lost Shelly the elf, which is unfortunate, but it was just Sylvanas, so that should be pretty fast. You'll also notice that Shelly the elf didn't have her ID property set. So that kind of stinks, and we want to be able to set that, which means that we should go to, what do you call that? The, what is it, modifiable unit data, game object, mutable game object, I think. Yeah, okay, mutable game object. This kind of stuff. Create new. Okay. Oh, but create new is called with an ID. Where does that ID come from? Right. So this is all stupid, and I think there was a point where, yeah, it would be like new ID and a pop-up, and it's commented out, and it's very stupid that it's commented out. Instead it calls get next default editor ID. So if I just auto import on that and save, yeah, then this will change the function of the editor to be more similar to Reforged Map Editor, which is a gain of feature, editing the editor so that I can set the property. So there's two things going on here. So if I go to like the heroes or campaign and I go to Sylvanas, now when I copy Sylvanas, I get to choose a unit ID. And this is really important because it has to be set to player so that I can spawn the player of Shelly the elf in the world, which is a hard-coded value in the actual code we're using. So that's important, but she still doesn't have the skinning properties. We need the skinning properties, which I exported the file to be able to edit them, but I didn't actually edit them. So we want to do that. So in order to edit the skinning properties, we want to go back to our resources folder where we have units metadata, the properties definition for our Warcraft units. And we want to go to Office, and you're going to use LibreOffice is what I got over here, LibreOffice. And we're going to put unit metadata into LibreOffice. And you'll see this is all the properties of units and items and stuff in Warcraft 3. And we want to add more properties because we need to be able to skin our character to use the High Elf Female Hunter skin. So in order to do that, I forget the property names for this, but it can be done. I believe it can be done. If you think about like hero proper names, probably. I think that's like hero property names is a string list. So we're going to copy that one, insert rows below, and paste that one. And we're going to make like, I don't know, urep. Urep I think can be anything. It's sort of like, you know, our identifier, as long as it doesn't collide with anything that was already there, which it looks like it doesn't. So instead of proper names, I believe this would be replaceable textures, something like that. And it's a string list. And you gotta set the category. So this thinks it's in profile. That's probably fine. But it also thinks that the category text here, which is not really what you want. We want category art. So it's category art. The name here instead of upro should be replaceable texture files, something like that. It's this string list. And then I think there might be such a thing as an int list. I don't really know. Does int list exist? Oh yeah, it does, because it requires a mount. So that's cool. So int list exists, which means we can actually copy our properties. Where'd that go? Replaceable texture. Replaceable textures. Yeah, okay, copy, insert row above, URID or something. I don't think URID is already used. Yeah, replaceable texture IDs. And this one is IDs. And this is not a string list, it is an int list. Cool, so I think that'll work. And then we have to save this document. Save, use the SLK format. Okay, great. So I think that should allow us to run this again, barring any weird curveballs that the thing throws us, which might allow us to specify, here is our hero, and we want her to look like that today. Instead of Shelly the elf, it's some other elf. I don't know. Name your elf. What do you want him to be? Pick your elf skin. All right. Oh, look at that. I've completely destroyed the whole thing. It doesn't load at all. It has no concept of units. All right. All right. Why is that? That's stupid. So this comes from something about these SLK files. They'd save in a totally different format out of Office. That's stupid. It's just really stupid, you know. So I typically in the past edit them as plain text or edit them in Excel if I had Excel available. That's stupid. You should be able to do this. If you have Microsoft Excel, you can do this. This is just somebody went to the open source one and like made it break or some garbage. How do we get past this? So conceptually, here's what we can do. There is a way to save this. If we go and we run mainframe, which is running Retro Model Studio, the version that's reading this file, and then we extract the version of the file that isn't from this folder, we nuke it and we put it back. You can see now Retro Model Studio is messed up. Its concept of objects is messed up. So we delete this, we restart it. Maybe it restarts instantly. Yeah, okay, there you go. It actually reloads instantly. Units, unit metadata. And we export it. We close this one. We'll do it again. It's very unfortunate that that is that way. We do it again. We go back to Retro Model Studio. No, back to Acris, Resources, Units. Unit metadata, overwrite. Okay, now I think the last time I did this, the overwrite function didn't even work. So let me just export it twice and make sure there's something wrong with the overwrite function. Okay, so we save the file, overwrite the file. unit metadata. So if you're in this same kind of problematic world where you can't really do it how you want to do it, you can't edit with LibreOffice because the file freaking breaks. I don't remember why. I'm going to open a new folder and go to War Smash, Resources, Units. We're just going to pretend that whatever I just did worked. If you have Microsoft Excel, it would probably instantly work. But anyway, you can see I have 23 columns and 268 rows. And so I'm going to have 270 rows. And then I'm going to go to UPro, and we're going to replicate UPro, doop, down at the bottom, which will be line 269. And then we're going to replicate, what was the other one? Actually, we'll just do UPro twice. So instead of UPro, now it's called urep, sure. And then we'll duplicate that. Make another one called urid. Instead of proper names, it edits replaceable textures. It's still a string list. This is replaceable textures. It's not text, it's art. URID. Similar story. Replaceable texture IDs. It's not text, it's art. The name in English, replaceable texture IDs, and it is an ints list. And it is not 269, it is 270. Okay, that's extremely tragic that I had to do that and that anyone would ever have to see that. But it is a reminder that where there is a will, there is a way. Now we just go back to our data wizard, add back the overridden file, and we should have an extra unit property, and we can go and make our hero character with whatever skin we want on Warcraft 3 in the WoW style way, kind of. Okay, this thing, resources units. Isn't that what I want to do? Add resources folder. Yeah, because if I add resources folder and then exit and launch the object editor again, the object editor will mysteriously add more properties, allowing me to edit the editor, thus giving me, well, I mean, I essentially at this point will have edited the editor, thus giving me replaceable textures, maybe. Unless I did it all the wrong way. Required bone names is here, but replaceable textures is not. We have replaceable textures command buttons, but we don't have the other stuff. Okay, it didn't work. I don't know why it didn't work, but it didn't work. So let me just go back to that. Not that one. Okay, unit metadata. Maybe there's like an extra repeat of the column information that I didn't duplicate. So you can see I changed 270. See, 269, 270. Seems a bit odd. Did we actually add folder Acris map resources? Yes. Is this the value of unit data in that folder? Yes. What am I missing? What if instead of 270, I set this to 272? I'm just curious. There used to be some kind of issue where the number counting was extremely bizarre, and I'm just wondering if that would make it load more stuff. I don't really think it will. I think that it would be odd if it did. You would think that it would not, but I'm just curious. I don't see it. It doesn't look like it's working. Okay, at least it's consistent. So what happened to these things? I set them to art, right? Yeah, art. Okay, so they're art. Oh, I bet they only show on heroes, because that's stupid. Oh yeah, because hero is the thing with this. That's silly. Okay, so it's not the 272 at the top. 270 was correct. The problem quickly becomes use hero or use unit, basically X 18, 19, those sorts of things. And you can see that 18, 19 here is not quite right. Yeah, the 18, 19 need to be set. Use unit. Use structure. Just always use it all the time. Just use all, basically. Cool. Restart the object editor. Get the new settings file. That ought to do it. Use everything all the time, and then we can set our properties, and we can set our unit ID. Maybe. There you go. Replaceable textures, replaceable texture IDs. Beautiful, beautiful. That's what we really wanted. Because now I can go in here. I can go and get like Sylvanas Windrunner. I can copy Sylvanas Windrunner and give her player as her unit ID, and then I can give her a model file selected from this, whatever this is, high elf female hunter. Copy path to clipboard. Put that in here. Now she is the high elf female hunter, but she also has to have the high elf female hunter skin, and she needs to have this magic replaceable ID 11 on here. So if you look at replaceable texture IDs, we're going to put 11, and then replaceable textures, we're going to put a high elf female hunter. Cool. And then push save. It says, okay friend, we're going to export units, because remember, it's not the real unit map editor, and we have to export these units as resources and call them war3 camp.w3u from the camp, because it's a campaign data override works. You can also do war3 map, but then if you play a custom map, it wouldn't find it. I'm pretty sure if I do war3 camp, maybe war3 campaign, I'm not quite sure. One of those. It's definitely one of those two. War3 camp or war3 campaign. You could find it if you go to War Smash. It would be in War Smash, I think. If you're curious, you can go to the War Smash folder in the parsers, W3X units, maybe object data. W3 object data, maybe. No. Oh, maybe here in units. Manager? No. Standard object data. Well, it's not really standard object data. Yeah, there's the change sets, but there's collapsed object data? No. Warcraft 3 map object data. There's a file for this. Or smash units util data sources. I don't think it's here. No, I think it's out there. Oh yeah, Warcraft 3 map object data. This one. Here you go. War3 campaign.w3. Oh, it's not camp, it's campaign.w3. Let's save it as that, as campaign. So it's like we're not really going to play a campaign, so we'll take the slot of campaign unit data in the unit data loader. And that gives us these resources. Every map we play always has Shelly the elf in it, or whatever this elf is called. Maybe this isn't Shelly, maybe she has some other name. Oh, she lost her hero status because she was just called PLYR with lowercase. So that's a little bit silly too. But yeah, it's just Ranger. She's just called Ranger. I also think the scaling value was pretty bad. A lot of these World of Warcraft models, remember I had to zoom in to see it. So to actually load it on Warcraft 3, if it's that big or something, we got to set the scaling value to like 16. Just be really big. Something like that. Oh, it didn't let me because the number was too big. So we have to use Shift Enter. Okay, great. And then save again. Export units, Warcraft 3 campaign units. That's great. But what that really means is we're getting back to where we might be able to run it again, which is fun because then we can run it and maybe we can push the magic button to get to our character or something in a map or something. It's like a good test. Let's see. Yeah, we're the humans, but if we push like escape or something, maybe it'll play as that elf we created. I think. Maybe. You're probably thinking to yourself, that doesn't make any sense. We edited the object editor to add a replaceable texture ID property, but what would make that property actually function in the game when its data name is replaceable textures and replaceable texture IDs? I'll explain that later, but we should go find out in the logs why this didn't start. Okay, logs, why didn't it start? So it was going, and then what? It's these stupid tree things. Oh, this is a tough one. This is really, I don't like this. Yeah, okay. I forgot about this. So a unit like Shelly the Elf needs to have, this is an interesting thing. Warcraft 3 units use an ability called ability move, and ability move moves them around in 2 dimensions on the Warcraft 3 map. World of Warcraft style units in this engine use an ability called ability player pawn, which moves in 3 dimensions and jumps over and under objects. Both kinds of units exist in the same world, but they do not actually both have, they're not interchangeable. So we have to give our hero a PWN, the player pawn ability. I don't remember expressly if that ability has to be defined somewhere else in some kind of settings file that's missing or not. But for now, let's just try APWN, which is the pawn ability to be a player pawn of World of Warcraft emulation on Warcraft 3. Maybe? Let's find out. Sorry, I was about to run it from over there, but we got to run it from over here. That might work. It might work. But we might even not have the skins. So I was also in the middle of explaining something curious to people about, well, why do the skins work? And the reason the skins would ever work at all when we added an object editor property like that is because of the game code. So fundamentally, when we load the concept of a unit in simulation, there is a unit concept, and that unit concept has a type, and that type concept is unit type. And so that thing, when that loads, it already is loading oh, it wouldn't be here because I'm not in third person Acris map change set. So in the third person Acris map change set, suddenly units are going to have replaceable type, probably. Oh, maybe not actually. Okay, yeah, we'll see. This stuff might not work. Let's go check the logs again and see why the game didn't run, because that's a more pressing issue. Sometimes you gotta have priorities. You know, our character might be solid white. We might not really load parameters, but yeah, okay. Ability player pawn is null, so we weren't able to get the player pawn ability. Maybe it's not a PWN. I actually don't remember exactly. I thought it was though. Abilities data, ability data, maybe ability data. Let's look it up. Okay, firebolt, all this other stuff. Experience gain, whirlwind. Oh, don't tell me player pawn. There we go. A PWN is maps to ability player pawn. So you would think that would work, but I wonder if it doesn't work unless the ability is existing in some type of ability definition. So I guess, if we go in our object editor, this is just a hunch I have here. Let's go to cargo hold tank and copy it and make a PWN as some senseless ability that doesn't do anything. And we'll save that in here too. War 3 campaign. And this has to be W3A because it's ability data. Maybe that will like create just some bogus abilities data to like convince the system that it's there. You know what I mean? I think you know what I mean. Get some ability data loaded in. And I think that makes sense. Maybe. We will find out. We will find out. Who knows? It's getting late though. I am going to have to sleep here pretty soon. APWM. Fun times. Maybe. Maybe not. We still never got to Eastern Kingdoms. We still never got to Eastern Kingdoms. Oh, and it crashed. Okay, so why did it crash this time? What is going wrong? Ability player pawn is null, so it doesn't seem to think that ability exists, which is, yeah, it's making me doubt what I was doing here. Let me just delete that one, save it again. So we won't do it that way. So I think if we're going to add it, we probably need to add it as like an ability in the ability files. We do that over here. Units, common ability func. Okay, I'm going to export this. I'm going to put it in resources, units. I lost my name there. Common ability func.txt. Okay, let's go look at that. This units folder, we can, oh, I don't want to go there. What is that? Am I leaking any personal information? Nope. Defender of Arcane Modding and the Source Warrior. Okay, great. Nothing that anybody cares about. Okay. Common ability func. Cool. So common ability func. I don't know, this kind of stuff. I think we just need to go in here and just define it. So just go to the bottom and just like APWN. I don't know. I think, yeah, we already have mount and dismount in here. It's just a bunch of crap, you know. But yeah, we got APWN in there to make sure that the system thinks it exists. That might do it. Again, why do you have to do that? That's a great question. Why is that something we have to do? Convince Warcraft 3 that the player pawn ability works so that my units can be World of Warcraft player pawns. That makes sense. Okay, single player, custom game, maybe. Start the game. Maybe. What could possibly go wrong? What could possibly go wrong? Everything. Everything will go wrong. It probably will fail. There actually used to be a problem, and I think this is what's going to happen next probably, is it probably still won't load, and it'll probably be the World of Warcraft interface trying to load on startup, and it'll probably tell me, hey buddy, you can't load the World of Warcraft interface, you don't have that. Alright, logs, what is it? You need, because then you'd think, well, we do have the World of Warcraft interface. The interface MPQ is added to the list, but there are some problems with that. Oh really? A War3 ID must be 4 characters in length. Got 0. Well, there's a strange problem. Oh. Oh. Okay. So this is all pretty stupid, but didn't I just have common ability func open? So you couldn't do this on the real Warcraft 3, but I think on mine I can put code equals APWN. We have to set the code of the ability code, and you could do that by adding a row in the other system. I'm just kind of trying to push the end, hoping that it'll just do what I. All right. Yeah. So you know what we want to do there. I'm sorry for swearing. Actually, we might have. I need to edit this video before I upload it. We might have some child ears that heard me swear. I apologize for anyone who heard me swearing just now. Maybe I will edit the video and edit that out. I was concerned I might have leaked personal information. I don't think I did, but I was concerned. Okay, so we're gonna try to launch this. Will it actually run? I really doubt it. To be honest, there are so many obstacles. I told this story of you try to do this and it won't run for an hour. Oh, look at that. I think it got farther on the loading screen. You know, isn't that a little bit fun? Oh, now there's a JAS log, so we actually failed in like JAS or something. Maybe. Let's see what the error was. Doop 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 doop. Create neutral passive buildings. Failed. That's a weird one. What is this? Some weird stuff going on here. Not read field object because the return value is null. That's a weird one. I wonder what the cause of that is. That is a weird one. I would sort of like to see that in debugger. It's not clear to me at all what that is. You guys see how I run the debugger? You've probably seen that. So in the debugger, what we can do is we can try to figure out better what's really happening. And I would like to do. Oh no! Actually, I opened the wrong code repo. I don't even know. Can we even open this code repo? Oh, that's painful. This is painful. Yeah, I opened the wrong one. So, what the heck is this problem? This is like a code problem where the units are like intersecting with null units. I don't really know how that's possible, but it seems to be what's happening, which would seem to suggest there's some sort of hole in the concept of the unit collision it's hitting me pretty badly now, and I don't remember where that hole in unit collision is or why that's affecting me. I'm honestly thinking I might try a different map and see if that's a workaround. Like maybe a pretty small map might work. I don't know what are we doing with unit collision that's exploding. And if I just try a smaller map, less stuff, one of these 2-player ones like Haro, maybe. And somebody's got to fix the code on that. That's like the Warcraft 3 emulator throwing a tantrum over something completely irrelevant to what we're doing, I think. I might be wrong. I would have expected a crash from World of Warcraft interface UI, which is probably more likely. Alright, yeah, what do we have now? See if this is the same stuff. Now this is the same stuff. What is this problem? I do not like this problem. I do not like this problem. Okay. Well, you know what I said about the debugger? We gotta get the debugger on this one. I think that's what I gotta do. I don't know what the problem is, but it should be possible to debug it. Anyone who tries to do this same code, they shouldn't have to do this. There should just be a fixed version. So we're gonna get a totally different folder here because we want to go to this kind of folder. But really we're not. So something like this. We're not immediately gonna go to this folder. We're gonna make Eclipse-workspace folder. This is where I'm going to edit the code out of with my old code editor. Other people would probably use IntelliJ. I think it's more common today, but it's also kind of a weird paid program. It's a little bit less open source. I'm over here in open source paranoid land. It's pretty nice land, but not everyone wants to follow me there. Okay. Etheller folder, heller, whatever that is, username. You gotta just make up usernames, man. That's what you do. Let's see. War Smash, Acarus map. Okay. Extract. Yes. This will take a minute to load, but I think it should load. All right. Finish. So the plan is I'm going to run the code. This code editor is going to tell me what's wrong with the code, and we'll fix it, and then hopefully no actual user who would get to this point would actually have the problems that I'm having. Also, there's this problem with the Antler plugin over here. You got to change the Antler plugin and tell it to do different stuff. The options need to be set to generate the other thing, and the folder is supposed to be build generated src. And it's already complaining to me because I was too slow setting that setting, and the automated building kicked in with the bad setting, not the good setting thing. Just don't do that. Don't do that. Okay. Yeah, this thing, automated build or something. Great. Okay, so desktop launcher. You want to run the launcher. Run the code file of the launcher. Maybe. Okay. Task list and outline are relevant to me. Okay. Desktop launcher. Great. Click run on this thing. It'll probably fail. Yeah, War Smash is starting, but not really. They don't correctly set the working directory on this, so I have to set it to core assets. Apply that, close, and then run it in debug mode. That's fun. Maybe we'll see when it crashes. Cool. Okay, yeah, let's see it crash. Now it's in debug mode. That's going to help me a whole lot. I can get like a debug UI on it. That's what you'd really want. Okay, your debug UI mounted to your Warcraft, so when it breaks, it'll tell you what's going on in the memory of the computer. You can fix more code that way. You can fix more code that way. That's my thought process, at least. I don't know why this is failing. I don't think it should be failing. It's very weird to me that it's failing. It's probably like there's a building at the center of the map, and it's spawning the WoW player unit thing at the center of the map, and it's like falling into the building and creating a geometric clash. I have no idea. I'm making that up. Okay. What do we think this is? So, throwing exception, which means we're not like printing what the exception is, I guess. How stupid. Okay, that's not a very useful debug. Because we have essentially lost the exception where it originally took place. Okay, alright. So, somewhere in quad tree, think about this problem. This happens in create unit simple. Yeah, set point does a translate call. World collision 325. So in World Collision 325, when we're doing translate, this calls into here. I guess if node equals null, new illegal state exception. What? And then this allows us to breakpoint on that and run it again. It'll tell us how we got there. That's pretty stupid that I had to do that, because that shows the debugger thing was dumb anyway. But we'll get there. We'll get there. We'll get there. I don't know if you guys can see this right now, but I'm running the game. Okay, so we get there. I'm on a different map. Let's try the same map. What was that? Haro. Haro, the map. It's small. It's easy. Hopefully it loads fast. Okay. We want to be in the code editor when it crashes. Okay. Get to this. What? Line of code. Maybe. Hopefully. Or some other thing happens and then they don't tell me. Yeah, what? Okay, this is what you really want, because now we can go in and we can investigate, like, okay, so why are we translating this? We're translating it because we're calling set point. Set point is set point and check unstuck. It was like translating it, create unit simple, which is like nudging the unit and collision. Set point. Well, now this unit, what are the abilities of this unit? It's a gold mine. It's an invulnerable gold mine, and it's crashing the game. Why is an invulnerable gold mine crashing the game? In trying to translate it, we said, is it a building? And if it is, we translate it. X shift and Y shift, which, okay, so Why would that crash? Unit is building. Then translate in building collision. So we have some kind of problem where, well, like we didn't add it to building collision and like add unit or something. Any unit collision. If it is a bone corpse, we don't add it to a building. Over here is a bone corpse, we don't add it to a building. We do add it to any unit. These do seem a bit potentially out of order. But it would have to have dead units for that to even be a problem. What's really going on? Bounds is not null. We do all this stuff. So bounds is not null. We're trying to translate it in the building unit collision. But an attempt to remove it have bounds to update. X and Y are both -3442. Old X, -3442. Old Y is -3442. So the X and Y of the bounds from the start of this call. And we call in to remove it, and we find nothing. But why? As if it was already not there. And then you think, what were we doing that made it not be there? Create unit simple. Do we not add to world collision? You would think that when we create a unit, we add him to world collision. Yeah, world collision, add unit. And you would think that that worked, you know? Oh, wait, building unit collision is missing an add. How stupid is that? Building unit is missing an add. Else movement type. Okay. So this is a very stupid problem, definitely. Okay, building unit collision else, and then you put this inside the else, and you think to yourself, why on earth did we have to do that? Someone did a bad code merge, like right before releasing this or something. I told you it would take an hour. Okay, all right. I'll just kill it. Just kill it and try it again. Might as well run it in the code editor in the debug mode or something, just in case. And play Haro again, just in case. I don't know. Cool. Okay, so here we are. We launched the thing. Try playing Haro. I feel like that should get past that. We'll probably crash on WoW UI now, which is good. That would mean we're moving forward. That's good. That would mean we're moving forward. You better believe it. I also should definitely go to sleep. That is a thing that is happening. Oh my gosh, look at that. We've declared victory and it thinks there was a unit in the center of the map, although there doesn't seem to be now. Oh, she died. We had a hero, but she died. She got killed by the creeps. That's funny. Maybe that's why it lagged. It's not really programmed to handle their death by creeps. Okay, so Harrow's not a very good map because our WoW character dies immediately because they spawn at the center of the map. I guess they should spawn at the player's start location instead. Wouldn't that make more sense? I'm guessing there's creeps up here, and I'm guessing they killed our guy.
Off I go then.
Oh yeah, they definitely killed her. She's also too small. She should be like 32 instead of 16. Also, the replaceable IDs didn't work. So now that we have a code editor open, we can just go to render unit type data or something. And we can look at, okay, replaceable texture paths. Replaceable texture ID. The names are wrong in my thing. Okay, this is where everything, I've got my tool set finally spun up. Things start to go fast. The game actually runs. It is actually possible to do. And with that, what that means is, which one is this? Okay, that one we were using to run the game, but we don't have to anymore. I thought one of these was the units folder. A little bit sad that that's not a thing that we have now. All right. Oh yeah, here we go. Units, unit metadata. Okay, so replaceable IDs down here. So this was not IDs. This is supposed to be ID, and this one is supposed to be paths. So you'll notice there is a special magic value there, and I was using something that's already programmed in the engine, which is the only reason it would ever work. That was the point I was going to try to get at before, but I don't think that really matters now because I just fixed it. So that's fixed. That'll make the character look good. Object editor, go back to unit ID thing. This character, size 16. Let's make her 32, a little bit bigger. That might even be too big, but got to use Shift Enter for that one. Otherwise it caps at 10. Okay, I guess the file menu is a joke. Save the thing. Okay. So I've updated the character. I guess if we go to third person UI, not that one, sorry, this one. If we go to third person UI, it might be the case, might be, that inside of third person UI, when we, for all players, pawn unit add, I'm wondering if, yeah, this creates a unit at 0, location. And I'm wondering if we could do War3 map viewer dot get simulation get player get yeah, basically get player index get start location. Perhaps this will make a bit more sense if we can say start location X and Y, perhaps, and then our hero won't die instantly, perhaps. But now I've just edited the code, so I've made the job much harder for anyone who's trying to do this. Until now, perhaps we were running without editing the code. We were just editing the files. Now I edited the code, so for some people that'll make that really, really hard to follow in my footsteps. I guess, I don't know. Everything until now is supposed to be doable. Now maybe they think it's not. I guess, I don't know, it's possible, but I think it's still doable. You just have to put your mind to it. Let's see where we're at. This is our hero. She's probably inside of the town hall if she's not dead. Oh, she's dead in the center of the map again. Oh, you can see now her skin loaded. So the player start location is nowhere apparently. I guess. Pawn unit, add. If all players. Oh, all players is false. Oh. So there's some kind of single player hack enabled right now. Okay. Well, does this have portrait scene, pawn ID? I guess we need local player index. So yeah, if there's just one hero for one player, then we're going to do the same thing. Yeah, maybe the code savants reading this are thinking to themselves, I saw that. How did he not see that? I don't know, maybe, but sure. All right. Something else you could do. Well, maybe not. Okay. Let's see. Haro. Go. Doop. Trying to get our hero to our start location so that we can actually run around as the hero without the game crashing. But the game might crash anyway as soon as I try to get to the WoW UI, which probably failed to load. Alright, let's see. I don't see a dead character in the center of the map. Which might also mean that if is it Alt-Z? Oh yeah, Alt-Z! How about that? So the WoW UI didn't load. But now I have, this is so fun. You guys have no idea how much fun this is, even when it's not really working right. I feel like the turn rate on the camera is too low. Like, shouldn't it be higher? No, you guys think it should be higher? Maybe it's Linux. The spin rate of like my mouse versus the camera, it just feels too low. Anyway, we also don't like her shadow, right? I don't think her shadow looks good. I think this unit is not a good unit shadow. Can I jump on the gold mine? Oh, I jumped over the gold mine. Wait. I want to jump on the gold mine now. Jump on the gold mine. Oh, what? We can't jump on that's like the whole fun of this, is jumping on gold mines. Can I at least blame Reforged if I can't jump on a gold mine? Okay, so apparently Reforged is not letting me jump on a gold mine. Which is a joke, right? There's literally nothing to do with Reforged in like any of this. Alright. Well, I think it looks pretty good. She's a little bit shorter than Peasants, which is a little small, even at 32 size. And the scroll speed is not right in the horizontal scroll. I don't know why that would happen. So in third person UI, scrolled. Yeah, scrolled X and Y. That's not it. Mouse smooth, I guess. Does this actually work? I thought touch drag. Okay. So the horizontal angle spin is the dx of the new x minus screen x minus. Oh yes. I probably was previously playing in a 4K monitor, so I probably need to multiply all radial speeds by 2 because I was probably using the exact pixel count of the distance of the movement of the mouse turned to radians in a way that's like stupid. Okay. Let me exit that one. Try to minimize this one. So actually, you know, this character, the shadow was not good. It should be shadow flyer so that it looks better. And then it's also too big, so I feel like it should be 30-30-60 instead of 60-60-120. If that makes sense to you guys. So that it looks more like a World of Warcraft shadow if it's round. It faces all directions that way. Trying to update our unit. Okay. I clicked on campaign actually, but I don't know. Maybe we don't. I didn't want to do that. Probably. I was just trying to click back on Warcraft 3 as I'm over here. Okay, Harrow or something. Do some more Harrow. Try not to get killed by the creeps at the start. But again, this hasn't gotten us to Eastern Kingdoms. So you will note we're not all the way there. Okay, Alt-Z brings me to our elf. Now look at that. So the elf has got a much better shadow under her now. My horizontal scroll speed is a bit better. I think I like that more. It does, something about it still feels wrong. It doesn't seem like it's quite right. I don't know. Like the camera is like in the air in a weird way. I'm not quite sure. It just doesn't seem quite right. Anyway, why can I not run up this? It's too steep. Too steep for me. Now you can see she's tilting. She's got a really weird tilt. So this you wouldn't want maximum pitch and roll. I guess like some of these characters have that in other numbers, but I want to say probably for World of Warcraft emulation, you probably don't want pitch and roll on your hero. Is my guess. I think they're just vertical. Only World of Warcraft mounts do that, but I don't think the characters do. Right? So we probably want the mount style. We want the character style, not the mount style. It does also seem like she could still be a little bit bigger. It's sort of unrealistically small. Maybe that's why it feels like off. So instead of 32, let's make it 36. Okay. Save, overwrite, characters, launch game. Okay. But yeah, I guess it is interesting to think still. What we don't have here is a solution for getting to Eastern Kingdoms. I gotta get to Kalimdor, Eastern Kingdom, not Kalimdor, Azeroth. Gotta get to Azeroth. Wasn't that a song? Maybe it was not a good song though. Okay, victory. All right. A little bit taller, a little bit taller. Oh, look at that! I'm getting taller still. I'm almost as tall as a peasant now. That is not much taller. Let's go see if I fixed my my pitch yaw problem. Do. Can't read that sign. It doesn't say anything. Okay, these characters do not do super well on hills, by the way. Hey, buddy. Oh, not what I wanted. Nope, go away. Go away. I changed my mind. Now here's the other problem. The creeps don't have leash range like they're supposed to. Both Warcraft 3 and World of Warcraft creeps have leash range. These creeps don't. They just chase you forever until your death. It's kind of funny if you think about it, but maybe it's also really annoying because now I'm doomed to die. And also our hero is going to be really low hit point.
You dare threaten me?
Oh yeah. And she's dead. Yep. You can still Alt Z, I think, but you can't move when you're dead because you don't have a unit anymore. She's just dead. Yeah, so we have got now the movement system. We've got the 3D motion. We've loaded in the character. And our problem is basically just a problem of maps at this point. How do you get like a World of Warcraft map? That one's a bit harder. I think that needs to be video 2, and then I need to sleep because this video has gotten quite long. And it might need some video editing and doctoring before I can upload it, which is a little bit unfortunate, but it's how they go sometimes. So there you go. This is how to get halfway to Eastern Kingdoms. This is my video of how to get halfway to Eastern Kingdoms, and maybe there'll be another video. We'll get the whole way there next time. Good night for now.